Only two things leave the house at midnight: raccoons and cheaters. Guess which one I married. I'm Robert Mitchell, 40 years old, financial advisor, and apparently the biggest fool in suburban Connecticut. I'm sitting in my darkened kitchen at 11:47 p.m., watching my wife Jane slip out the back door in what she calls business casual, but what any sane person would call date night attire. The black dress that hugs her curves, the perfume I can smell from 20 feet away, the nervous energy that makes her check her phone every 30 seconds. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Just grabbing drinks with Sophie to discuss the Morrison account, she'd said, not meeting my eyes. Sophie, her boss at the tech company. Right, because Sophie definitely wears stilettos to discuss quarterly projections. My coffee's gone cold, but I keep sipping it anyway. The bitter taste matches my mood perfectly. 15 years of marriage, 2 kids upstairs sleeping peacefully, and here I am playing detective in my own home. When did it come to this? The answer comes at 6:23 a.m., delivered straight to my inbox like a digital punch to the gut. You should check who your wife's having drinks with at the Avalon. A friend. Anonymous email, untraceable sender. But the message is crystal clear, and suddenly Jane's emergency work meeting makes perfect sense. The Avalon isn't some corporate watering hole where marketing managers discuss synergy over cosmos. It's the kind of upscale bar where married people go to pretend they're single. I forward the email to my personal account and delete the original. If I'm going to be paranoid, I might as well be thorough about it. Jane stumbles in at 1:15 a.m., reeking of wine and guilt. She mumbles something about late-night brainstorming and disappears into the bathroom for what feels like an hour. When she finally crawls into bed, she's showered, scrubbed, and smells like our expensive body wash instead of whatever cologne she was wearing when she left. I pretend to sleep, but my mind's racing. 15 years, 2 kids, a mortgage, a life built on what I thought was solid ground, now feeling like quicksand beneath my feet. The next evening, I find myself parked across from the Avalon at 8:30 p.m., feeling like the world's most pathetic private investigator. My hands shake slightly as I adjust the rearview mirror. Part of me hopes I'm wrong, hopes Jane really is inside discussing marketing strategies with Sophie. The other part, the part that's been growing stronger since that anonymous email, already knows what I'm going to see. At 8:47 p.m., Jane's silver BMW pulls into the lot. She checks her makeup in the mirror, takes a deep breath, and walks into the bar with the confidence of someone who belongs there, someone who's done this before. I wait and wait. At 9:15 p.m., a black Audi parks 3 spots from Jane's car. The man who gets out is tall, athletic, wearing a suit that probably costs more than my monthly car payment. He's handsome in that generic corporate way. Perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect everything. He walks into the Avalon like he owns the place. My phone buzzes, text from Jane. Meeting running late, don't wait up. I want to storm in there, make a scene, demand answers. Instead, I sit in my car like a coward, watching the entrance and feeling my world crumble 1 minute at a time. At 10:30 p.m., they emerge together. Jane's laughing at something he said, her hand briefly touching his arm. They stand by her car for 5 minutes, talking in low voices. Then she hands him something small, looks like a USB drive from where I'm sitting. He leans down and kisses her cheek. Nothing passionate, nothing obvious, but intimate enough to make my stomach clench. She gets in her car and drives away. He follows in his Audi, but turns left while she turns right. I follow the Audi. 20 minutes later, I'm parked outside a glass office building downtown, watching Jane's mystery man meet with another suit in the lobby. Through the windows, I can see them shaking hands, the second man examining whatever Jane passed along. I managed to snap a few photos with my phone, before they disappear into an elevator. The building directory by the entrance lists dozens of companies, but one name jumps out: Meridian Financial Solutions. They're our biggest competitor, the firm that's been undercutting our bids for the past 6 months, somehow always knowing exactly what numbers to beat. Suddenly, Jane's late nights and mysterious meetings take on a whole new dimension. This isn't just about an affair. This is about betrayal on multiple levels, personal and professional. I drive home in a daze, my mind spinning with implications. Jane's not just cheating on me, she's selling out my company, my career, everything I've worked for. The woman I've shared a bed with for 15 years is systematically destroying my life, and she's been doing it with a smile. When I get home, Jane's car is already in the driveway. I find her in the kitchen, still in that black dress, pouring herself a glass of wine. "How was your meeting?" I ask, keeping my voice neutral. She doesn't even look up. "Productive. Sophie had some interesting ideas about expanding our client base." "Sophie, right. How is she these days?" "Fine, same as always." Jane takes a long sip of wine. "You seem tense, Robert. Everything okay at work?" The casual way she asks it, like she doesn't already know exactly what's happening at work, makes me freeze. But I force a smile. "Just the usual. Competition's getting tougher, but we'll manage." "I'm sure you will." She finishes her wine and heads for the stairs. I'm exhausted. "Don't stay up too late." I watch her go, noting the slight sway in her hips, the confident set of her shoulders. She thinks she's won already. She thinks I'm too stupid, too trusting, too pathetic to figure out what's really going on. She's about to learn how wrong she is. The next morning, I'm sitting in Murphy's boxing gym at 6 a.m., pounding the heavy bag like it owes me money. The gym's my sanctuary, the one place where everything makes sense. Hit the bag, feel the impact, repeat until the world stops spinning. You're gonna hurt yourself hitting like that. Mick O'Brien, the gym's owner and my unofficial therapist, approaches with 2 cups of coffee. He's 55, built like a fire hydrant, and has the kind of weathered face that's seen everything twice. "Woman trouble?" he asks, handing me a cup. "Is it that obvious?" "Son, I've been married 3 times and divorced twice. The third one faded before she could leave me, which probably saved us both a lot of paperwork." Mick's grin takes the edge off the dark humor. "So yeah, I recognize the signs. You want to talk about it?" I tell him everything, the late nights, the anonymous email, what I saw at the Avalon. Mick listens without interrupting, occasionally nodding like he's heard this story before. "Here's the thing about fighting," he says when I finish. "Most guys think it's about throwing the hardest punch, but the smart fighters, they don't fight the other guy's fight. They set their own ring, make their own rules, and then they destroy their opponent on their terms." What's that supposed to mean? Means you don't confront her yet. You gather evidence, you plan your moves, and when you're ready, you hit back so hard she never sees it coming. I spend the rest of the morning at work, trying to focus on client portfolios while my marriage implodes in the background. Around noon, I get a call from Tom Harrison, one of our biggest clients. "Robert, I need to ask you something, and I want a straight answer. Is there any truth to the rumors about data breaches at your firm?" "What rumors?" "Word on the street is that someone's been leaking client information to competitors. Meridian Financial somehow knew every detail of our investment strategy before we even finalized it. They undercut your proposal by exactly 2%. Exactly 2%. The same margin they've been using for months. I thank Tom and hang up, my hands shaking with rage. That evening, I wait until Jane's in the shower before slipping into her home office. Her computer's password protected, but I know Jane. She uses the same password for everything. Emma 2008, our daughter's name and birth year. What I find in her email makes my stomach turn. Dozens of messages to someone named Ethan Blackwood, starting 6 months ago. The early ones are flirtatious but professional. By month 3, they're explicitly private. but it's the recent messages that make me want to put my fist through the monitor. "Robert's such a boring lay," Jane writes in one. "All missionary all the time. No imagination, no passion. Sometimes I fake it just to get it over with." Ethan's response: "Poor Mr. Spreadsheet. He has no idea what he's missing, or what he's about to lose." The business emails are even worse. Client lists, investment strategies, confidential financial data. Jane's been feeding Meridian everything they need to destroy our firm, and she's been getting paid for it. Her personal bank statements show monthly deposits of $5,000 from something called EBW Consulting. Ethan Blackwood, EBW. My wife's been whoring herself out for $5,000 a month and a few cheap thrills. I print everything, save copies to a secure drive, and clear the browser history. By the time Jane gets out of the shower, I'm in the living room watching TV like nothing happened. "How was your day?" she asks, settling onto the couch beside me. "Fine. Yours?" "Busy. I might have another late meeting tomorrow night. Sophie wants to discuss the Peterson account." I nod like I believe her. "Of course. Work's important." She smiles and squeezes my hand. "Thanks for understanding, honey. I know I've been distracted lately." Distracted. That's what she calls systematically destroying our marriage and my career. The next evening, I follow Jane to the Avalon again. This time, I'm prepared. I park where I can see the entrance and wait. Jane arrives first, followed 10 minutes later by her lover boy, Ethan. They disappear inside for 2 hours. When they come out, I'm ready. I follow Ethan to the parking garage beneath his apartment building. He's walking to his car, probably thinking about whatever Jane promised him for next time when I step out of the shadows. Ethan Blackwood. He spins around, startled. Up close, he's even more perfect, 6'2", athletic build, the kind of jawline that belongs on magazine covers, everything I'm not. "Do I know you?" he asks, but there's recognition in his eyes. He knows exactly who I am. Robert Mitchell, Jane's husband, the boring one. His perfect composure cracks slightly. "Look, I don't know what you think. I think you've been sleeping with my wife and stealing from my company. But hey, I could be wrong. Maybe those $5,000 payments are for your sparkling personality." Now he's nervous, glancing around the empty garage like he's looking for an escape route. "You're making a mistake." I step closer, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. "The only mistake I made was trusting my wife. But mistakes can be corrected, Ethan. Accidents happen in parking garages all the time. Cars roll. People get hurt. Insurance companies hate paying out for preventable incidents." I'm not actually threatening him, not really. But Ethan doesn't know that. He sees a man who's lost everything with nothing left to lose. Sometimes that's more dangerous than any weapon. "Stay away from my wife," I say quietly. "Stay away from my business. Find a new hobby, preferably one that doesn't involve destroying other people's lives." Ethan tries to look tough, puffing out his chest like some kind of peacock. "Or what?" I smile, and something in my expression makes him take a step back. "Or you'll find out why I spend my mornings at Murphy's boxing gym instead of Starbucks." I turn and walk away, leaving him standing there in the garage. I can feel his eyes on my back, but I don't look around. Let him wonder what I'm planning. Let him worry. My phone buzzes as I reach my car. Text message from an unknown number. "Back off or you'll regret it." I stare at the screen, my mind racing. This isn't from Ethan. I just left him in the garage, and he looked too shaken to be sending threats. This is from someone else, someone who knows what I've discovered. I think about Jane's boss, Sophie, the mysterious meetings, the way this whole operation seems too sophisticated for just an affair. There are more players in this game than I realized. Good. The more people involved, the harder they'll fall when I bring the whole thing crashing down. I text back, "Looking forward to it." Let them think they're dealing with the same naive husband who's been ignoring the signs for months. They're about to learn that boring Mr. Spreadsheet has been paying attention, and he's very good with numbers, especially when it comes to calculating revenge. The corporate Christmas party is held at the Riverside Country Club, the kind of place where everything costs 3 times what it should, and the waiters look down on anyone making less than 6 figures. Jane spends an hour getting ready, trying on 3 different dresses before settling on a red number that shows off her legs. "How do I look?" she asks, doing a little spin in front of the mirror. "Beautiful," I say, and mean it. That's the hell of this whole situation. She's still gorgeous, still the woman I fell in love with 20 years ago, the woman who's been systematically destroying my life for the past 6 months. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she says, straightening my tie. For a moment, it's like old times. Then her phone buzzes, and I see her face light up in a way it hasn't for me in months. "Work?" I ask. "Sophie. She wants to make sure I have the Peterson files ready for Monday." "Right, the Peterson files. I've seen those emails. Peterson is code for whatever new scheme she and Ethan are cooking up. The party's in full swing when we arrive. Jane immediately gravitates toward her tech company colleagues while I make small talk with other financial advisors. I'm nursing a scotch and listening to Bill Matthews complain about interest rates when I spot him. Ethan Blackwood, looking like he stepped off the cover of GQ, working the room like he belongs here. Which, apparently, he does. His name tag identifies him as Senior Consultant, Meridian Financial Solutions. Our eyes meet across the room. He raises his glass in a mock toast, that perfect smile never wavering. The arrogant bastard thinks he's untouchable. I excuse myself from Bill's riveting commentary on Federal Reserve policy and work my way through the crowd. Ethan's standing near the bar, chatting with 2 women from the marketing department who are hanging on his every word. "Ladies," I say, stepping into their circle. "Mind if I steal Ethan for a moment? We have some business to discuss." They flutter away like startled birds, leaving us alone. Ethan's smile gets wider. "Robert, great party, isn't it? You must be so proud of Jane. She's been incredibly helpful with our recent projects." The way he says helpful makes my jaw clench. I bet she has. Jane's always been generous with her talents. Very generous. And so creative. She comes up with solutions I never would have thought of. We're standing 3 feet apart, smiling at each other like old friends while trading verbal punches. Anyone watching would think we're having a pleasant conversation about business. "Speaking of solutions," I say, "I've been working on a few problems myself lately. Amazing what you can accomplish when you put your mind to it." Ethan's smile falters slightly. "Problems?" "Oh, data security issues, competitive intelligence, that sort of thing. I'm very good at tracking down leaks and plugging them, permanently." Before he can respond, Jane appears at my elbow. She's slightly flushed from wine and excitement, looking back and forth between us with poorly concealed panic. "Robert, I didn't know you 2 had met." "We haven't been properly introduced," I say. "Ethan Blackwood, Meridian Financial. Jane's mentioned you." "Has she?" Ethan recovers his composure quickly. "All good things, I hope." "Oh, very good. She says you're quite talented at getting what you want." Jane's face goes pale. She knows I know, maybe not everything, but enough to be dangerous. "Robert, maybe we should... Actually, I was just thinking how nice it would be if everyone could hear about Ethan's talents." I raise my voice slightly, drawing attention from nearby conversations. "Jane's been telling me all about your collaboration, how you work so well together, how you share everything." More people are looking now. I can see Sophie Martinez, Jane's boss, watching from across the room with sharp, calculating eyes. "The way Jane describes it," I continue, my voice carrying clearly in the sudden quiet, "you 2 have developed quite an intimate working relationship. Very hands-on, very personal." Jane grabs my arm. "Robert, stop. Stop what? I'm just praising your dedication to customer service. The way you've been working nights, weekends, going above and beyond to give Ethan everything he needs. It's inspiring, really. Ethan tries to laugh it off. Jane's a consummate professional. We all appreciate her commitment. Commitment. That's a good word for it. I look directly at Jane, letting her see everything I know reflected in my eyes. Though I have to wonder about the ethics of it all. Mixing business with pleasure, sharing confidential information, that sort of thing. The kind of behavior that might interest, say, the SEC or a divorce attorney. The crowd around us has gone completely silent. Jane looks like she's about to be sick. Ethan's perfect composure finally cracks, his face flushing red with anger or embarrassment. "You don't know what you're talking about," he says. "Don't I? I'm an accountant, Ethan. I'm very good with numbers, bank deposits, email timestamps, hotel receipts. Amazing how it all adds up when you know what to look for." Jane's grip on my arm tightens. "Robert, please, not here." "Why not here? These are our friends, our colleagues. Don't they deserve to know what kind of people they're working with?" Sophie Martinez appears at Ethan's shoulder like a shark. She's 45, sharp-featured, with the kind of predatory intelligence that built her tech company from nothing into a major player. "Is there a problem here?" she asks, her voice carrying the authority of someone used to controlling situations. "No problem at all," I say, just discussing the wonderful partnership between our companies. How information flows so freely between us. How competitive bids somehow always end up in the right hands. Sophie's eyes narrow. "That's a serious accusation." "Is it an accusation? I thought it was a compliment. After all, knowledge is power, and power should be shared. Isn't that right, Jane?" Jane's face crumples. Without another word, she pushes through the crowd and heads for the exit. I watch her go, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. Ethan starts to follow, but I catch his arm. "I wouldn't, if I were you. People are watching." He jerks free, his perfect facade finally slipping completely. "You have no idea what you've done." "Sure I do. I've leveled the playing field." He leans closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "This isn't over." I smile. "You're absolutely right. It's just getting started." I turn and walk away, leaving Ethan and Sophie standing there in the wreckage of their carefully constructed scheme. Behind me, I can hear the crowd buzzing with speculation and gossip. By Monday morning, everyone in both companies will know that something's rotten between Jane Mitchell and Ethan Blackwood. I find Jane in the parking lot, leaning against her car and crying. For a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. Then I remember the emails, the bank deposits, the casual way she mocked our marriage to her lover. Jane. She looks up, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "How long have you known?" "Long enough." "I'm sorry, Robert. I never meant for it to go this far." "Which part? The affair or the corporate espionage?" She flinches like I've slapped her. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. It just happened." Bullshit. $5,000 monthly payments don't just happen. Client lists don't accidentally end up in competitors' hands. You made choices, Jane. Now you get to live with the consequences. I start walking toward my own car, but she calls after me. What happens now? I turn back, studying the woman I've shared my life with for 15 years. She looks smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of her own betrayals. Now you find out what it feels like to lose everything. I drive home alone, leaving Jane in the parking lot with her tears and her regrets. When I get to the house, I pour myself a drink and sit in my study, surrounded by printouts of emails and bank statements. My phone rings. Unknown number. "Mr. Mitchell? This is Sophie Martinez. I think we need to talk." "About what?" "About cleaning up the mess you made tonight. About protecting everyone's interests, including yours." I laugh. "Lady, you have no idea what my interests are." "Don't I? I know you're angry. I know you feel betrayed. But destroying Jane won't bring you satisfaction. It'll just make everyone's life more complicated." Maybe I like complicated. There's a pause. Meet me tomorrow, noon, the Riverside Diner on Route 9. Come alone. She hangs up before I can respond. I stare at the phone, wondering what Sophie Martinez thinks she can offer me. Money? Threats? Some kind of deal to keep quiet about what I've discovered? She's about to learn that some things can't be bought, and some people can't be intimidated. The game's changing, and I'm no longer content to play defense. Sophie Martinez is already seated when I arrive at the Riverside Diner, a cup of coffee cooling in front of her as she scrolls through her phone with the focused intensity of someone putting out fires. She's traded her party dress for a sharp business suit, but she still looks like she could cut glass with her cheekbones. Mr. Mitchell, thank you for coming. I slide into the booth across from her, noting how she's positioned herself with a clear view of the entire restaurant. Old habits from climbing the corporate ladder, probably. Always watch your back. Nice show last night, she says without preamble. Very dramatic, very public, very stupid. I thought it went well. Great turnout, good acoustics. Everyone seemed engaged. She doesn't smile. Do you have any idea what you've done? Exposed a couple of cheating, lying corporate spies? Yeah, I'm pretty clear on that. Sophie leans forward, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. You've jeopardized a 6-month operation that goes far beyond your wife's little indiscretions. There are bigger players involved here, Mr. Mitchell. People who don't appreciate having their business aired in public. Bigger players. Jane and Ethan are small fish, useful idiots who thought they were running their own game while being played by people much smarter than them. She pauses, studying my face. People like me. The pieces click into place. You're not Jane's boss trying to cover for her. You're the one running the whole operation. Very good. Yes, I've been using Jane to feed information to Meridian, but not for money, for intelligence. My company needed to know what your firm was planning, who your clients were, what strategies you were developing. Jane provided that information, and Ethan served as the cutout to keep my hands clean. And the affair? Sophie shrugs. A convenient cover story. Let them think they're star-crossed lovers pulling off the perfect crime while I pull their strings. Jane gets her excitement, Ethan gets his ego stroked, and I get what I need to destroy your company and absorb your client base. I stare at her, genuinely impressed despite myself. That's actually pretty brilliant. Thank you. Which is why your little performance last night was so disappointing. You've forced me to accelerate my timeline and cut loose some valuable assets. Jane and Ethan. Jane's already been terminated, effective immediately. Ethan will be next, as soon as I can make it look like Meridian discovered his unauthorized activities and took appropriate action. They'll both be radioactive in this industry within a week. The waitress approaches, and Sophie orders another coffee. I ask for the same, buying time to process what I'm hearing. So, what do you want from me? I ask, when we're alone again. Your silence, your cooperation, and your client list. In exchange for what? I don't destroy you completely. Your wife's already ruined. That can't be undone. But you still have your reputation, your career, your children's future to consider. Cross me, and I'll make sure you lose all of that too. I lean back in the booth, studying this woman who's been orchestrating my personal hell for the past 6 months. She's good. I'll give her that. Ruthless, intelligent, always thinking 3 moves ahead. Under different circumstances, I might even admire her. What makes you think I won't go to the police, the SEC, the state attorney general? Sophie's smile is razor sharp. Because you can't prove any of this. Jane and Ethan were the ones with dirty hands, email trails, bank deposits, hotel receipts. I was just a concerned boss trying to manage a difficult employee situation. Any investigation will stop with them. She's right, and we both know it. Sophie's covered her tracks perfectly, using Jane and Ethan as buffers while keeping herself clean. Even if I could prove her involvement, it would take months or years to build a case, and by then, she'd have destroyed my firm and moved on to her next target. "You've got 48 hours to decide," she says, standing up and dropping a $10 bill on the table. "After that, I start playing hardball. And trust me, Mr. Mitchell, you don't want to see what that looks like." She walks out, leaving me sitting alone with my coffee and a growing sense of rage. I've been outmaneuvered by a master, checkmated before I even realized we were playing chess. Jane and Ethan were just pawns, and I've been focused on the pawns while the queen moved freely around the board. But Sophie's made one crucial mistake. She thinks I'm still playing by the old rules, still trying to be the good guy who works within the system. She doesn't understand that when you take everything from a man, his wife, his business, his future, you don't create a victim. You create a villain. I drive home to find the locks changed and my belongings in boxes on the front porch. Jane's car is in the driveway, but the curtains are drawn and she doesn't answer when I knock. A note taped to the door informs me that I'm not welcome on the property and that all future communication should go through her attorney. My phone rings. It's my daughter Emma, calling from her friend's house where she's spending the weekend. "Dad? Mom called and said you guys are getting divorced. Is that true?" I close my eyes, feeling the weight of everything I've lost and everything I'm about to lose. "Yeah, sweetheart. I'm sorry. She said you did something bad at a party, that you embarrassed her in front of everyone. It's complicated, Em. Sometimes adults make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes hurt people we love." "Are you okay? You sound weird." "I'm fine. Listen, I might not be around the house for a while, but that doesn't mean I don't love you and your brother, okay? No matter what happens, no matter what anyone says, remember that." After I hang up, I sit in my car outside what used to be my home, staring at the boxes of my life scattered across the porch. 15 years of marriage, reduced to cardboard containers and legal documents. My phone buzzes. Text from Jane. "I'm sorry it came to this. I never wanted to hurt you." I text back, "You haven't hurt me. You've freed me." She doesn't respond. I spend the next 2 days in a hotel room planning. I liquidate our joint savings accounts, transfer money out of shared investments, cancel credit cards and insurance policies. Every move is legal. I'm just exercising my rights as a joint account holder, but each transaction is designed to cause maximum disruption to Jane's comfortable life. I also make some calls. Tom Harrison, my biggest client, is very interested to hear about the data breaches at Meridian. So is Rebecca Walsh from the Industry Oversight Board. I don't make accusations. I just ask questions, plant seeds, let them draw their own conclusions. By Wednesday, Meridian's phones are ringing off the hook with clients demanding explanations. By Thursday, the State Insurance Commission announces an investigation into irregular competitive practices in the financial services sector. Sophie calls me Friday morning, her voice tight with controlled fury. "You're making a mistake, Mitchell." "Am I?" "I'm just exercising my rights as a concerned citizen, asking questions, sharing observations." "I warned you about playing hardball." "No, you warned me about what happens when you play hardball. You never asked what happens when I do." I hang up and turn off my phone. Let her wonder what I'm planning next. Let her feel the uncertainty, the loss of control, the growing sense that her carefully constructed world is about to collapse. Because it is. That evening, I'm at Murphy's gym, working the heavy bag with methodical precision, when Mick approaches with his usual 2 cups of coffee. "You look different," he says, focused, dangerous. I feel different. Good different or bad different? I consider the question. Honest different. For the first time in months, I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not. Mick nods like he understands. "What's the plan?" "Total war. No prisoners, no mercy, no rules." Sounds expensive. Everything worth doing is expensive. The question is whether you're willing to pay the price. I finish my workout and head back to the hotel. Tomorrow night is the annual Financial Services Gala, the biggest networking event of the year. 500 industry professionals, all gathered in one place to celebrate another year of making money off other people's money. Sophie will be there. Jane will be there. Ethan will be there. And so will I. Time to show them what happens when you corner a man with nothing left to lose. The Financial Services Gala is being held at the Grand Meridian Hotel, 30 floors of glass and steel overlooking the city. I arrive early, wearing my best suit and carrying a small duffel bag that contains everything I need for tonight's performance. The security guard at the service entrance doesn't even look up when I flash my vendor credentials. Fake, but convincing enough to get me access to the building's AV system. 20 minutes later, I've uploaded my presentation to the main server and tested the remote trigger. Everything's ready. The ballroom is magnificent, all crystal chandeliers and marble columns, filled with the city's financial elite, sipping champagne and networking with predatory efficiency. I spot Sophie immediately. She's holding court near the bar, surrounded by admirers and sycophants. Jane's across the room, looking uncomfortable in a black cocktail dress, nursing what appears to be her third glass of wine. Ethan's nowhere to be seen yet. I make my way through the crowd, shaking hands and making small talk, playing the role of Robert Mitchell, respected financial advisor, for one last time. Several people mention the unfortunate situation with my wife, offering sympathy with the kind of false sincerity that makes my skin crawl. Robert, I turn to find Marcus Webb, the head of the Financial Services Association, approaching with his trademark politician's smile. He's the one who organized tonight's event, which makes him perfect for what I have planned. Marcus, hell of a turnout. Best we've ever had. Listen, I heard about you and Jane. I'm sorry, man. Divorce is never easy. Actually, it's been quite liberating. Amazing what you learn about people when their masks come off. Something in my tone makes him look at me more carefully. You okay? You seem different. Never better. In fact, I was hoping I could say a few words tonight about the industry, about trust, about the importance of transparency in our business relationships. Marcus looks uncomfortable. I don't know, Robert. Given everything that's happened. Come on, Marcus, 5 minutes. I promise it'll be memorable. Before he can object, I'm walking toward the stage where the evening's speakers are scheduled to present. The current speaker, some banking executive droning on about regulatory compliance, is just finishing up. I step onto the platform and take the microphone before anyone can stop me. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention for just a moment. The crowd quiets, 500 faces turning toward the stage with varying degrees of curiosity and concern. I can see Sophie near the bar, her face tight with alarm. Jane's frozen by the buffet table, her wine glass halfway to her lips. My name is Robert Mitchell, and I want to talk to you tonight about trust. A murmur runs through the crowd. Several people are already reaching for their phones, sensing that something interesting is about to happen. 6 months ago, I thought I knew what trust meant. I trusted my wife to be faithful. I trusted my business partners to be honest. I trusted that the people in this room shared my commitment to ethical behavior and professional integrity. I pause, letting the words sink in. Sophie's pushing through the crowd now, trying to reach the stage, but there are too many people in her way. I was wrong. I pull out my phone and trigger the presentation I uploaded earlier. The massive screens flanking the stage light up with the first slide, an email from Jane to Ethan discussing the transfer of confidential client information. Gasps ripple through the audience. Jane drops her wine glass, the crystal shattering on the marble floor with a sound like a gunshot. What you're seeing, I continue, is evidence of a systematic campaign of corporate espionage conducted by people you know, people you trust, people sitting in this very room. The next slide shows bank records, Sophie's payments to Jane, routed through shell companies and offshore accounts. The slide after that displays email chains between Ethan and Meridian executives, planning how to use stolen information to undercut competitors. The beautiful woman in the black dress near the buffet table is Jane Mitchell, my wife of 15 years and a senior marketing executive at Martinez Tech Solutions. She's been selling confidential client information to Meridian Financial for the past 6 months, betraying not just her marriage vows but her professional obligations. Jane's face is white as paper. She's looking around desperately, as if searching for an escape route that doesn't exist. The handsome gentleman just entering through the main doors is Ethan Blackwood, senior consultant at Meridian Financial. He's been Jane's handler, her lover, and her co-conspirator in one of the most brazen examples of corporate theft I've ever encountered. Ethan freezes in the doorway as 500 pairs of eyes turn toward him. He looks like a deer caught in headlights, his perfect composure finally and completely shattered. But they're not the real villains in this story, I continue, advancing to the final slide. They're just pawns, manipulated by someone much more clever, much more ruthless, and much more dangerous. The screen displays Sophie's photograph alongside a complex flowchart showing her connections to shell companies, offshore accounts, and a web of corporate acquisitions that spans 3 states. Sophie Martinez, CEO of Martinez Tech Solutions, has been orchestrating a campaign of industrial espionage designed to destroy competing firms and absorb their client bases. She used my wife's marital dissatisfaction and Ethan's greed to create the perfect cover story, a simple affair that masked a much larger conspiracy. Sophie has stopped trying to reach the stage. She's standing perfectly still in the middle of the crowd, her face a mask of controlled fury. But I can see the calculation in her eyes, already planning her next move, her next lie, her next manipulation. The evidence you've seen tonight represents just a fraction of what I've uncovered. Bank records, email chains, recorded conversations, all of it will be in the hands of federal investigators by Monday morning. That's not entirely true. I don't have recorded conversations and some of the evidence is circumstantial at best. But Sophie doesn't know that, and neither does anyone else in this room. I want you all to remember this moment, I say, my voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence. Remember that trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. Remember that betrayal has consequences. And remember that sometimes the quiet guy in the corner, the boring accountant everyone ignores, is the one you should fear the most. I set down the microphone and walk off the stage, leaving behind a ballroom full of shocked faces and whispered conversations. Security guards are moving toward me, but they're too late. I've said what I came to say. Jane intercepts me near the exit, tears streaming down her face. "Robert, please, we need to talk." "No, we don't. We're done talking. I can explain." "I don't want explanations. I don't want apologies. I don't want anything from you except for you to stay out of my life." Sophie appears at Jane's shoulder, her mask of control finally slipping. "You have no idea what you've done," she hisses. "I'll destroy you for this." I smile, feeling a strange sense of peace settle over me. "You already tried to destroy me, Sophie. The difference is, I don't have anything left to lose. You, on the other hand, have built an empire on lies and betrayal. Let's see how well it stands up to scrutiny." I walk out of the ballroom, through the hotel lobby, and into the cool night air. Behind me, I can hear the chaos beginning, raised voices, ringing phones, the sound of carefully constructed lives beginning to collapse. My phone buzzes with calls and texts, but I ignore them all. There will be investigations, lawsuits, depositions, and testimony. There will be consequences for everyone involved, including me. But right now, standing on the sidewalk outside the Grand Meridian Hotel, watching the city lights reflect off the glass towers that house our corrupt little industry, I feel something I haven't felt in months. Freedom. I've burned every bridge, destroyed every relationship, and sacrificed everything I once thought mattered. I've become the villain in my own story, the bitter ex-husband who couldn't let go, who chose revenge over reconciliation. And I regret nothing. Jane will rebuild her life eventually, probably with someone who appreciates her particular talents for deception. Ethan will find new marks to manipulate, new schemes to run. Sophie will create new shell companies, new networks of corruption, new ways to profit from other people's trust. But they'll never forget tonight. They'll never forget the moment when boring Mr. Spreadsheet showed them what happens when you push a quiet man too far. I walk to my car, get behind the wheel, and drive away from the wreckage of my old life. Tomorrow, I'll start building something new, something honest, something that can't be destroyed by betrayal because it's built on the solid foundation of accepting exactly who and what I am. A man who trusted too much, loved too deeply, and learned too late that sometimes the only way to win is to make sure everyone loses. The city lights blur past my windows as I drive toward whatever comes next, leaving behind the burning ruins of everything I used to be.